A big theme on this channel, especially when we do a film analysis or a player breakdown, is the emphasis on how important coaching is in the game of basketball. I feel like the importance of this has been talked about less and less, whereas in football, a team's success and the coach are always synonymous with each other. Today we're going to be looking at two of the best, if not the two best coaches in today's game, Brad Stevens and Steve Kerr. Although both wildly talented and successful, they're both sitting around 500 and would both be in the play-in game if the season's ended today. We'll take a look into that too, but when looking at coaches, I'm going to analyze them in three categories. First and most importantly, we have to look at team success, but more specifically, what team you had and what you got out of them. Second, we need to look at the game through X's and O's, their schemes, offense and defenses, their rotations within a game, and three, how they are leaders of men. And starting off with the last point first, because I think this is a really undervalued and very important part of their coaching. And it's a dynamic that can get overlooked by a lot of NBA fans. It's easy to get a freshman team in high school to respect the coach and listen to what they have to say. But in the NBA, you're dealing with 20 to 40-year-old men who get paid millions of dollars and have ultra confidence in themselves. And not to get someone like that to only respect you and take value in everything you say, but enough respect to let them openly criticize them day in and day out, not as easy as you'd think. And we only used to get a gauge off of this going off of quotes from players and body language, but now we get an even much closer look at the coach-player relationship when people are mic'd up. So let's start with Steve Kerr. This is one of the best attributes I believe he has. If I grew 8 inches and was an NBA caliber player, I would pick to play for Steve Kerr. He is a player's coach and has so much respect for each and every single one of his players, and in return, they trust him 100%. There's multiple amazing conversations that were captured between him and Steph, KD, Draymond, Clay, and I'm sure these are regular occurrences throughout all the games and all the practices. He builds them up, lets them know how truly great they are, and always makes them leave with a clear mind. He also doesn't seem to play favorites either and shows the same respect for everyone on his team and goes to bat for everyone too. How many times have we seen Steve Kerr get kicked out of a game? I feel like it happens a lot, and it is always because he's defending one of his players. So when looking at who I like more as a leader of men, I have to give the advantage, and I like what I see more from Steve Kerr. Moving on to something I believe these coaches are both brilliant at is the X's and O's of basketball. Brad Stevens is a young boy genius and reminds me a lot of Sean McVay in the NFL. Coaches can shine on the basketball court in a few different areas. When they can develop players to have high basketball IQ and unselfishness, and when they have their motion offense and half-court sets, or after timeouts when it's 100% of the time a drawn-up play. And when players make their shots, it's one thing, but when a coach can scheme a play open to get a player to get a wide-open layup or a three-pointer, this gets me so excited. It's just so beautiful to watch and let it get executed. And nobody in the game is better at a timeout than Brad Stevens. If you need a play to get a bucket, he can draw one up. Just look at a couple of these plays. And this isn't limited to the offensive side of the ball either. When Brad Stevens took over the Celtics, they had the 26th worst defense in the league. And next year he brought it up to 16. And then from 2015 to 2020, they've been a top 10, if not top 5 defense in the entire league. One of his biggest feats as a coach is they had the number 4 overall defense in the entire NBA with 5'9" Isaiah Thomas at point guard. This whole season, they were able to hide Isaiah Thomas and scheme him to hide so offenses couldn't exploit him. It was just so beautiful to watch. Steve Kerr in his own right has an incredibly high level of knowledge about the game, and they both have to know this much about the game to get the amount of respect as I mentioned earlier. Steve Kerr has some really good plays, but as I watch the Warriors offense, it seems a lot more free-flowing than the Celtics offense does. I think they work on what they want to do so much in practice, and Steph Curry is so good that Steve is able to teach them the spacing, how and when to cut, when to set a screen on or off the ball. I think he just builds very, very smart basketball players and lets Steph and Draymond run it up and call the motion or the set plays when they bring the ball up. But overall basketball knowledge, I have to give the edge to Brad Stevens. To me, he is the best in the game for drawing up plays, offensive and defensively, and just schemes in general. Seeing what he's done with the Celtics these past years and bringing a team like Butler to the national championship game, he's remarkable in this aspect. And now we have to look at team success, and it's tricky because obviously they've had very different teams, but how I look at success is how did you do with the team compared to what they should have been. So Steve Kerr has 3 rings on the court, and this is obviously 3 more than Brad Stevens Stevens has, but to be fair, and I'm not saying anyone, but most NBA coaches could have won 2 of those rings with the years with KD. This is not to diminish Steve Kerr because he made them a lot better than they would have been, but to me, his 2015 ring and his 2016 regular season is his greatest accomplishment as a coach individually. He took the baby-faced assassin Curry, first-time All-Star Klay Thompson to be the Splash Brothers, and paired it with the Swiss Army knife and let a big be the second point guard in Draymond, which is not something we commonly saw. Created one of the most exciting and efficient offenses of all time. All these players came into their own around the time that Steve Kerr got there. Not saying that they wouldn't have been MVPs or All-Stars, but previous management constructed this team and Steve Kerr took over and made everyone the best version of themselves. And that is still always be up there with the most exciting basketball I've ever seen. And we have to take a look at things with Brad Stevens a little bit differently because he hasn't won a ring, but what has he done with the teams he had? He's been the coach since 2013, and they brought him in from transition into rebuild mode as there was almost no remaining pieces of their 2008 championship team. In his first year, they stunk, but they were expected to. But just after that year, they have been over 40 wins and usually in the 50s, low to mid 50s. His most impressive year to me was the 2017-2018 season. They won 55 games and made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. And even being a huge LeBron fan, it was hard not to root for the young coach, rookie Jason Tatum, and no Kyrie, who was replaced with Terry Rozier. They had a 3-2 series lead, but eventually lost games 6 and 7 to LeBron's Cavs, which there's no shame in, especially when your best player is hurt. But this would have been a huge legacy game for Brad Stevens. So really boil it down to the 3 things I find that make a great coach: being a great leader of men, the X's and O's and schemes, and the overall success in what you've done with those teams. To me, I have to give the edge to Steve Kerr. I just believe he's the best coach in the NBA. I know both their teams are struggling right now, but this is the exception to me. And I also know there's a ton of amazing coaches like Mike Malone, Nick Nurse, Quinn Snyder, OG Popovich, and many others that are having terrific NBA seasons and careers with their teams. But right now, over the past 5 years and currently, it's really hard to make an argument against Steve Kerr, but you guys are more than welcome to try. Thank you guys so much for watching. Comment down below if you agree with me, especially between these 2, but if you want to throw someone else in the conversation, I would love to talk about it because I have a lot to say about a bunch of coaches. So if you guys enjoy coaching videos, I know this isn't about players, but if you enjoy coaching videos, let me know. Make sure to leave a like, and if you want to see content like this every single day, make sure to subscribe. I will see you all tomorrow. Peace.